Sunday, I had the pleasure of going to the cinema, but this time, to not just watch a new movie, but to watch one of my favorites. Sunday, I got the pleasure of watching Scarface for its 40th anniversary, which is just a pleasure to see. This is one of my favorite films of all time, and getting to see it in cinema in the best way you could watch a movie was just so much of a pleasure, especially being around the crowd that was really just enjoying the movie, having fun, especially towards the end when shit hits the fan. Scarface, what can I say about this movie that again, I've always been wanting to talk about this movie, so now that I have, I guess, the moment and the spotlight to talk about it, it's kind of hard because it's just like there's so much to talk about when it comes to Scarface. But let's start off with the beginning. Let's talk about the film. So we got Scarface. Scarface is a crime drama. I have the video box. I got Scarface on 4K Blu-ray, so here you go. So I'm gonna read the back of the box. Say hello to my little friend. In the spring of 1980, the port at Mario Harbor was opened, and thousands set sail for the United States. They came in search of the American dream. One of them found it on the sun-washed avenues of Miami. Wealth, power, and passion beyond his wildest dreams. He was Tony Montana. The world will remember him by another name, Scarface. Starring Al Pacino as Tony Montana, along with Michelle Pfeiffer, Stephen Bauer, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and Robert Loggia. Scarface has become a cultural phenomenon, brilliantly directed by Brian De Palma and written by Oliver Stone. Scarface. The film's, of course, runtime is, I have it right here. The runtime is 170 minutes. Film's rating is R in color. The film's directed by Brian De Palma, known for Carrie, Phantom of the Paradise, and Blowout. Scarface. This film is, there's a few movies that I can really pick out and say this film is meant for me or just made for me because it has everything I love. First off, I'm a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto. This is pretty much a movie about, this movie is fucking Grand Theft Auto pretty much. And I love this movie. It has everything. 80s, crime, fucking cocaine, drugs, violence to the butts, and disco, 80s music. It's just fantastic, and not only that, it's just a fantastically made movie. This is just a master class. I think this is could absolutely be considered De Palma's just masterpiece because this film is just made just masterfully, and it's just so fucking good. Scarface is legendary to me. I've seen it so many times. I've seen this movie when I was definitely not the age to see this movie. I saw it on TV. It was edited for TV. It wasn't violent, but it still had Tony Montana cursing and shit. I don't know if it had Tony Montana cursing or just they had to, which is just the worst way, I guess, to see Scarface. So I pretty much saw it on TV in the beginning, and I saw it after that, and of course this time I saw it in cinemas. So I've seen this movie so many times in a way that this film is just embedded to my brain. So yeah, this film is awesome. This film is not only awesome, this film is just legendary to me. The performances, of course, you got Al Pacino as Tony Montana, man. Al Pacino is amazing in this movie. He is just a freaking force to be reckoned with. He is so entertaining as this role. He's also a man succumbed to greed, especially being in the bottom to now being in the top and shit. It's like one of those old tales from when underdog goes to the top and then the top just fucks him up. And yeah, Al Pacino is great in this film. This man, I think this is one of my favorite performances of his. Of course, I think Michael Corleone is just his best performance, but I think Tony Montana is there. It's in that same realm. I love him in this film. He is so entertaining. He's funny, but also scary. Especially when I saw this in theaters, I felt fear from Tony Montana because that man is a presence that you do not want to mess with, man. I thought Al Pacino is just amazing as Tony Montana. You got, of course, his henchman, Stephen Bauer playing Manny Rivera. And yeah, he's great in this movie. He's likable, he's funny. I just love his duo, the dynamic between him and Pacino, and he's just great. He's great in this movie. Of course, before this, he was in the show Que Pasa USA, and yeah, and of course after this, not I mean a long time after he did Breaking Bad. But he's great in this movie. He's really good in this film. I wish he didn't have his shit that happened to him in real life. I wish he could have done more stuff, I guess, during the time. But he's good. Michelle Pfeiffer plays Elvira Hancock, and yeah, this is the movie that really just star shined for Pfeiffer. Of course, before this, she did Grease 2. But I felt like Scarface is the one that really just shot her to the top, and she's great in this movie, playing the gold digger that most movies have, and yeah, she's great. She's really good. You got some of the antagonists for the film. Of course, you got Robert Loggia as Frank Lopez, who hires Tony Montana to be his henchman or his assassin and shit. And yeah, he's really good in the movie. He's fucking funny too, being this, I guess, the rich guy who's just been through shit and he's just living the life now, and he's just living the Miami life. And yeah, he's really good. He's funny and he's great. You also got F. Murray Abraham as Omar, who's just an asshole to Tony. I think they just hate each other. In the movie, they just hate each other, even though in a way they worked for each other during the movie. But, you know, shit happened between the two. And yeah, Omar, first of all, F. Murray Abraham is just a fantastic actor. When I didn't even know him as an actor when watching this movie. I just looked at him like just an asshole guy who was just mean to Tony, so I didn't like him. So he's good in this. You also got Paul Shinar as Alejandro Sosa, who is pretty much just a kingpin. He's a freaking billionaire. He's like the Pablo Escobar of just cocaine, and he's great. He's really fucking good in this movie. He plays this rich billionaire who knows his shit, who's very calm and collective about things, and he's really good in this movie. And some of the little characters, I mean, you got Gino Silva playing the Skull, aka the Terminator. Doesn't say a word throughout the movie, but he is quite terrifying. You also got Hector Salamanca, Mark Margolis as Shadow, who is the one that I guess they do a job between him and Tony. And yeah, it's cool seeing Hector in this movie. You also got Al Israel as the Colombian Hector the Toad. Just fuck Colombians. That's Tony Montana's motto. And you also got Harris Julian as the crooked cop Bernstein. He's really good in this movie. I think he has a pretty damn good role as this crooked cop. He's a pretty cool character. Of course, you got the supporting cast. You got Mary Elizabeth Mastrotonio as Gina, the sister of Tony. Also, just this actress during the 80s had so many great movies. I mean, I really just got to see her in just 3 great movies. I got to see The Abyss, The Color of Money, and Scarface. So if you're gonna do a Mary Elizabeth trilogy, those 3 movies are just bangers. And she's great in this movie. She plays, I guess, the young girl. She was really good looking in this film. And she's good in this film. I found her pretty damn good in this movie. And of course, the dynamic between her and Tony, of course, some people look at it as kind of like an incest thing. I really don't. I really look at it as just him being really protective over his sister, really looking at her, because he finds her to be pure and doesn't want that to be ruined, especially because he looks at her as the only person in the world that's being pure and doesn't want that to be ruined. And you also got a very good performance that I think should be brought up is Miriam Colon as Mama Montana, the mom of Tony, and she's really good in the movie. Pretty, being the hardworking Cuban, and just looks at Tony as like just bringing a bad rep to of her people. And man, I thought she was really good in this movie for the short role that she's in. And yeah, after seeing this movie so many times, her character really stood out for me. I thought she was great. And you also got just some of the supports. I mean, you got Angel Salazar as Chichi, aka Bruno Mars guy. He's good. You also got Arnaldo Santana as Ernie, which in a way is just a great performance because he plays this guy. He plays a performance of a dude that's just fucking terrified and just like, he looks great. He's great in this movie. And of course, you got the banker played by Dennis Holohan, being the crooked banker, being the Saul Goodman in this movie. And yeah, he's good. All the performances are amazing, but of course Al Pacino's Tony Montana really just leads this film to the best, and of course Stephen Bauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, it's great. All the performances are pretty damn good. And you got, of course, the screenplay. So first off, the direction by Brian De Palma is just amazing. This is such a well-made film. Also, there's things, I mean, I got to learn. I mean, he wasn't really the first choice. It was actually Sidney Lumet was going to be like the one to direct this film, but I think they chose De Palma. And great choice. Brian De Palma really did this film just justice. The screenplay by Oliver Stone is just really good. Also, during this time, Oliver Stone was going through a coke addiction, and I think when he was chosen to do this movie, he had to go to a different country to really get sober. And when he wrote this movie, he was completely sober, so it was very interesting. I did not know that. I didn't know the man who wrote this movie was also doing cocaine, which is interesting because fucking Tony was doing cocaine all over the place, you know what I mean? The writing is just amazing. This is easily probably one of the best screenplays in film. This is so good. The music by Giorgio Moroder, which he was just doing some great movies back in the 80s, doing the score for a lot of classics during the 80s, like, you know, Flashdance, Top Gun. This is great. This is a very good score. Has that, first off, the Scarface theme is just classic. And just the score throughout the movie, super tense, super like, oh shit, shit's about to go down. DP by John A. Alonzo, known for Harold and Maude, Wattstax, and Chinatown. This is such a well shot film. This is a beauty to look at. Its cinematography is just a chef's kiss. The editing by Gerald B. Greenberg, known for The French Connection, Kramer vs. Kramer, Apocalypse Now, and edited by David Ray. And such a well edited film. For a movie that's 2 hours and 50-minute runtime, this film goes by like freaking like water in the ocean. Like, this shit is just smooth, and just this film, you can really just lose yourself watching this film, and that's what I kind of did. I really lost myself in this story. And yeah, also just the action scenes, the crime and shit was cool. It was so good. You know, the violence was definitely a thing that at the 80s people were like, yeah, this is too much shit. Too much violence, I guess. Which it kind of was. I mean, that chainsaw scene was definitely a scene where you're like, whoa, fuck. Which is actually, the fucking chainsaw scene is an actual real case that happened. So it's even worse. It's even worse that shit happened to somebody. Some dude got fucking chainsawed. And yeah, this film's awesome. Scarface is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a legendary film. It's one of my favorite performances of Pacino. Has just I love this movie because I'm from Miami. Getting to see Miami in the 80s, and of course Al Pacino playing this Cuban guy. Of course, me and my family are Cuban, so it's just really cool seeing him trying to do something like that. And he does a pretty damn good accent, and he does a pretty damn good job playing a Cuban immigrant very well. And I mean, as a rating, this is a 6. This is a legendary film. It's definitely top 3 film of my, not even, it could be number 1. There's like 3 movies that can switch around. It's this one, Dark Knight, and I think Godfather and Back to the Future. I mean, that's my Mount Rushmore, I think. My Mount Rushmore for film is Scarface, The Dark Knight, The Godfather, because, I mean, I say The Godfather, not part 1 or part 2, because it's The Godfather, and Back to the Future. And you can switch around with that and Lion King, those 2 movies. And this film is legendary. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and it was just so exciting to see it in cinemas for the first time. And some people at the time said that they glorified this lifestyle, which, I mean, if you really look at the movie, it does not. And of course, it looks cool, but they truly, by the end, says, hey, man, crime doesn't pay. And yeah, people really did say that, saying that shit glorified it. That's crazy. This movie, the movie doesn't even put it that way at all. And this film at the time was definitely a mixed bag for some people. Of course, it was a box office success. It made money. But as a film, it was a mixed match. A lot of actors didn't even like it. Dustin Hoffman, I think, fell asleep during the movie. And also, this movie's history is just so interesting. You should definitely read about the history of Scarface. So some of the actors, I think freaking Jamie Lee Curtis was gonna be in the movie, and Robert De Niro was gonna be Tony Montana. So that's interesting stories. You should definitely look it up. It's really Making this film was a fucking hassle, and for this movie to work and come out is not only impressive, but what's also impressive is that this movie is just so good and such a legendary film. So, anyways, I love Scarface. If you've never seen Scarface, please fucking do. Just see this film. It's so amazing.